Hi, and welcome to the Australian Women Speakers live stream show. This show is all about showcasing all the amazing women that are out there that can speak on stages and showcasing the huge amount of talent, and of course, trying to shift the stats from 30% to 50% women on stages. So, my guest today, I am delighted to announce, is the wonderful Heidi Horne. So, welcome, Heidi.
Hello, Jules. Thank you so much. I know that we've tried to catch up on numerous times, so I'm very excited and very honoured to be on your show today.
Well, I am to have you on my show as well. So let's kick off by, I can see you've got it in your headline, but tell us what is your topic and your why?
So my topic, my new keynote that I'm really
Oh.
passionate about is called Mindful in a Distraction Epidemic. So it's all about empowering people to let go of just stress and distraction because we're in a ever speeding up world.
So
And
badly needed, yes.
yes, and I could go on about all the stats and research. But just having those really actionable, simple tools that you can do, and anyone can do really, that just take you from that chaos to the calm and, allow you to be centered and then get back on that fast train again.
Oh my God, you sound like the perfect speaker for all of us who have frazzled lives. So I love it. So what sort of audiences do you like, Heidi? Who do you like speaking to? Size, gender, anything.
Well, for me, I don't really have specific because I know we're in a stressed, burnt out, overwhelmed world. And
Yes.
so it's really, I don't like to narrow myself too much because I go where I feel I'm called to go and where I'm needed. And however, saying that, it is really just people in high pressure, high stressful situations. Obviously, you're going to get the most benefit.
Any
So
particular industry that you like?
oh, I mean, I really do like working with, customer service,
Okay.
tech, hospitality, but really I don't narrow it to any specific industry.
Other than, I just want an audience full of stressed people that I can calm
Yes,
down.
yes. Is there anyone out there?
I wonder if there's anyone. I can see one here in the screen. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your background and how you have got to where you are and where you're speaking about it.
So I believe I've sort of always been in front of people going right back. And years and years ago in my 20s, I used to be a tour guide. So I was a tour guide for
Oh,
like
wow.
6 years, taking people around Australia and then Europe and different places.
Wow, what a great way to travel.
So I had a new audience that were captivated.
Every day.
Not captivated, they were captive every day.
And captivated, I'm sure.
So it was amazing because when you're impacting people and making sure they have an amazing experience. So, and from then onwards, I have been in the wellness space for around 20 years, starting off very much about, teaching people how to meditate, be mindful, have a positive mindset.
Okay.
Been in the meditation sort of space and then going into the corporates as well. So how I can...
Well, I've got to ask you,
Yeah.
what made you tip over into going into the corporates and speaking on stages rather than doing quiet, I imagine, sort of retreaty type things? What got you on a stage the first time, other than you love being on stages since you were little?
I think for me, it was how can I have more of an impact?
Yeah.
Because I know what I have to share is really powerful and it can really, change people's lives and it's really important more than ever to have some of these skills and tools that, you can use. So
Absolutely.
I think it was, obviously COVID was a tipping point for me, just, going more into studies on life coaching and mental health. So I did a lot of studies doing that during the 2 years in Sydney and then started to write some books as well around that time. And then...
Well, it's quite recent, though. I mean, I thought you were going to say I've been doing this for 15 years, but maybe not.
Oh, no, I've been in the corporate space for a long time, but in terms of, I suppose, really elevating to bigger stages, it has been sort of the last 3 or 4 years.
I love it. I love the more people I talk to about why they do what they do. Definitely COVID has had a big effect on a lot of us and made people kind of shift and move into a new direction.
Yeah, I think we had that space to really think and go deeper about what legacy we wanted to leave behind, and how we can help others. So it's not just about us, it's about everybody else at the end.
Yeah, I love that. And women particularly, I think, got that message over the lockdowns. So I didn't have this in the questions I gave you, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway. Nothing like us thinking off the hoof. How do you get your gigs normally, Heidi? Are you with bureaus or are you reaching out to organisations? How does it work?
So I'm not really with too many bureaus at the moment. I suppose people just reach out to me a lot of the time. So it is word of mouth.
Having seen you speak somewhere else.
They've seen me speak, or they have known of me,
heard of you, recommended
me, or people, I don't know, like they've been following me for a while. So and they like the change of direction I have gone into. And obviously I am very active on LinkedIn as well. So made some amazing connections there. And I do, attend a lot of networking. I mean, I love meeting new people, and
that works as well, because often you go to a networking event, they've had a keynote and you've kind of slide up to the organizer and go, if you're looking for any more, I'd love to do it. And you nearly always get a yes. So I guess I'm just trying to encourage women to, go out and make those opportunities for themselves as well.
Yeah, it's really about, making the most of everything and ripping the band-aid off.
Yeah, and the more you speak, the more you'll get opportunities, as word will spread what you're like. So if someone was to come and watch you, and of course there are lots of people who have, what would be two of the main takeaways that people would get from walking away from one of your talks?
In line with what I'm really passionate about talking now is that we need to do something in the world that we're in now, because we are, as I say, experts are calling it a distraction epidemic. And when we are more distracted, this is keeping us in a stress mode. And stress obviously is linked to a lot of the diseases that cause death. So it just keeps rolling on. And people aren't coping, and people are heading towards, burnout. So I could talk about this for a long time. But
well, it's interesting. As part of my She's the Boss Chats podcast, I interviewed about 250 women, and I reckon 30% of them had been burnt out, like dramatically worked to the extent that they maybe had to stay in bed for a year or for 3 months. Or shift their whole career. So it was something that I guess I hadn't clocked in quite the way that it is. And you talk about the distraction epidemic, but that idea of just going to keep working till I drop, which I think, 20 years ago we were all told to do, is now like such a no-no.
Well, I think, maybe 20 years ago we weren't as connected either. So now we don't have, I liken it to like a car metaphor, that we are just flinging ourselves into a speeding up car, and often we're still in that car. We haven't stopped for gas or pulled off the highway or even put on the brake until like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, when we finally put that phone down or finally stop the work emails or finally mentally switch off. So that's why linking into the second takeaway is that there's a simple solution, and it's just stopping, and just that's what I want to share with as many people as possible, is just having a little 1-minute reset. Obviously, coming from like a meditation and mindfulness background, if you can fit 10 minutes or 30 minutes, great. But trying to get someone who's already stressed or burnt out or overwhelmed to do something that's 30 minutes or 60 minutes is going to stress them out even more. So I say start with 1 minute, work from there, make it work for you, and then extend it afterwards. So all about creating really positive habits and rewiring our brain, that we don't,
and a bit of space to breathe.
Exactly.
Well, I guess you probably do breath work as well, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
And so
that's one of the tools I teach, is one of the resets is all about breathing. So
yeah, I love that. And so have you had any people come back to you saying, wow, I started following you and I feel like a different person?
Well, I've had clients over the years, and someone will come and they will tell me, that thing that you taught me like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I still use that, and I'm like, now this is why I do it.
Yes, there you go. It's so nice to see the impact, isn't it?
Yeah. So if people can take away one thing from an hour talk or a 45-minute talk or a workshop, it's not my job is done, but I realize that one thing can really make a big change in their life.
That's so true. And as some people say, even if there's just one person in the audience that changes because of it,
yes,
then I feel like it's worthwhile doing what I do.
Yes.
So can you tell me about any memorable speaking opportunities you've had? Any, I don't know, extra big audiences, extra small, interesting industry, or whatever you'd like to. But I'm always interested because we've all got stories.
Well, when you asked me this question before, just one popped in my head, which during COVID, I was obviously doing a lot of Zoom webinars and workshops, and I was working for quite a large company that's a global company. So I was going right around the world, leading mindfulness workshops and facilitation, and obviously that included sometimes some little mini meditations, which is what I do. And during COVID, a lot of people were online and tech issues did happen. So I can't remember how many hundreds of people I had from globally, but during one of the meditations, everything glitched. And I was just, watching that wheel of death. And I was like, oh, everyone's got their eyes closed, I hope. So
so they won't even notice.
And then by the time it came on, I just was like, oh, maybe they just thought I just was quiet for a little while. So it all worked out. But, you have to always be prepared, I think, for especially online, having those tech issues, and, not let them phase you and have that backup plan as well.
Well, that's very pertinent considering we had a bit of an issue trying to connect today. So I love it that you mentioned that. Are there any others? Have you done a particularly big audience or somewhere in an obscure place?
I haven't done many obscure places, to be honest. I've run a lot of retreats, so they've been in obscure places, but more, I really love doing big audiences that, like breakfasts or, big key summits and conferences where people will come up afterwards and hearing their stories of, what they've gone through maybe in terms of struggles and what has worked for them. And I think that's why we all do it as well, isn't it?
Well, I was going to say, I was thinking of a new question as you were speaking, which was, why do you love speaking so much? But I think you may have just answered that one.
Yeah, I think even when I was a little kid, I just loved making people happy, and I loved, I don't know, maybe I am a people pleaser, correct? But
maybe you're more of a teacher.
Yes. So I do love guiding people into ways that make them happier and make them have a more fulfilling life.
Okay, so you just said that you like big audiences. What's the biggest audience you've worked with?
Oh,
roughly.
Not super huge, probably only a few hundred, I'd say, maybe 200 or 300.
That's pretty huge, I reckon.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not 1,000, but it's still quite a lot.
Yes.
So how did you get started with your speaking, Heidi? How did you kickstart it all off? Did it start with like a little business breakfast you spoke for free? Have you always charged? Let's talk about some of that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I definitely have not always charged. I suppose people reached out and contacted me to speak at, say a women's networking breakfast.
So you did a lot of those in the early days? Because I know I did too. Yeah.
And I, just embraced it. And I just sort of not went to anything. However, you have to get your experience up, and
that's so true.
And I think see how different people react as well. So there are going to be different audiences' reactions, and I have also done the Rotaries and the Lions Club, and the school groups as well. And it's still fulfilling speaking to
Oh,
paid
absolutely.
audiences and different groups. I think it's really important to
Practice.
practice and to get
There's
different
no,
reactions.
yeah, and I think there's no gig that's below you really when you get started. You just need to get started. And I know I've interviewed now a lot of the very top speakers who charge tens of thousands, and I would still, and they go, oh no, everyone's got to pay for it, but I would still say that there is a space, particularly for small networking groups that maybe don't have the budget to pay either. So they might be putting it on for free for their audience. But I definitely feel like, I mean, there's a lot of talk about women should be paid, and absolutely, I think we should. But if you're paid in kind with, we'll promote you to our people, or you can sell your program or whatever. Speaking of which, do you have, and what do you sell at the back of the room when you do a talk?
Well, what I've got coming up is a new app, which hopefully will come up next year, so called the 1 Minute Reset. So that's what I am linking it with a new book as well, which is going to be called the 1 Minute Reset. At the moment, I really just, work towards, if I'm not doing speaking, it's working with doing workshops or facilitation in line with workplace happiness. So promoting happier workplaces, creating happier leaders and happier teams, which then creates more productivity and more profit. So that and leadership retreats as well. I love still running retreats. So
for anyone, is it anyone in C-suite, or is it women only, or what's your?
It's not women only. However, women obviously are often
Dominate.
more drawn to retreats. So I've run retreats for a really long time, but now really working more with leadership retreats as well.
Okay. And do you do them in Australia and overseas, or mainly in Australia?
Mainly in Australia. I've run my own retreats overseas.
Where overseas? Because I would imagine on your topic that Bali has to be.
I've done a couple in Bali. Next year, I am doing one in Langkawi in Malaysia.
Oh,
and
wow.
One in New Zealand, so probably Queenstown. That should all be out soon. And then in 2026 in Italy. So I've got
oh my God, there's one to look forward to.
So I love doing those. They're not leadership retreats; they're just my general mindfulness getaway. My retreats are all about balance, so you are allowed to have wine and coffee on my retreats. They're not.
Sound ideal. Sounds like exactly the retreat I should be going to. So Heidi, if somebody wanted to book you, and I'm sure they will after listening to this, other than womenspeakers.com.au, and I know you've got a listing up there, where else can they find you? Have you got a website?
Yeah, so my website is just my name, Heidi Horne, Horne with an E, .co, so not .com, just .co.
Okay.
And I'm very active on LinkedIn, so reach out, send me a message there. On the other socials like Instagram and Facebook, I'm Heidi Horne Speaker, and that's the same for YouTube as well.
Fantastic. I hope one day I get the chance to hear you speak.
Oh, thank you. So
thank you so much for doing this interview. It's really important to me that we get the word out about how many amazing women there are that can speak, and clearly you're one of them. So
thank you, Jules.
Excuse me. Well, I appreciate all of that. Are you coming along?
More than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. If you are looking for a speaker, then please go to Women Speakers, where you can find people like fabulous Heidi at womenspeakers.com.au. You don't pay a commission. You can just go and search by location and topic, and then talk directly to the speaker and negotiate directly. Also, if you have no budget and you're looking for a speaker, I would also say we have 2,500 women across Facebook and LinkedIn under the Australian Women Speakers brand or groups. And then if you are a woman speaker and you would like more gigs, or you want to band together with the rest of us, because my theory is I'm not going out and getting gigs for people, but the more that we stick together, the more likely we are to be found. Then please go to womenspeakers.com.au and build yourself a little profile in there. But again, thank you so much, Heidi. I can't wait to share this.
Love